You can start investing with exactly $1 right now. Fractional shares made that possible. And yet, 80% of Gen Z who invest in high-risk assets say they're doing it because they feel financially behind. And they're putting that dollar into crypto and meme stocks, not into the boring index fund that actually builds wealth. The access problem got solved. A different problem showed up instead. Here's the actual shape of the problem. Because it's not that Gen Z can't access investing, it's that access got aimed at the wrong target. Apps like Robinhood, Fidelity, and Public now let you buy a fraction of any stock, starting at $1. If a share costs $500, your dollar buys you a tiny real slice of it. That part is a genuine win. A decade ago, this literally didn't exist. But look at where that access is actually being pointed. Northwestern Mutual's 2026 study found 32% of Gen Z are invested in or considering cryptocurrency, versus 24% of the general population. Another 32% are into sports betting or prediction markets, nearly double the 17% rate for adults overall. And 14% are in meme stocks specifically. The common thread across all of it: 3/4 of Gen Z and millennials who choose these assets say they feel they need to take big risks to reach their financial goals at all, buying viral investments, meme stocks, or using borrowed money, because slow and steady feels too slow to matter. That feeling is understandable. It's also, mathematically, usually backwards. So why does easy access push people toward the riskiest option instead of the safest one? Two mechanisms are doing most of the work. First, gamification. Trading apps are explicitly designed with the same feedback loops as mobile games: instant price updates, celebratory animations on a trade, push notifications engineered to pull you back in. Researchers studying this pattern point out that the fast feedback loop, social pressure, and app-based convenience increase behavioral and addiction risk, encouraging people to chase losses instead of stepping back. A boring index fund gives you almost no dopamine feedback. It just quietly compounds. A meme stock gives you a full emotional roller coaster every single day, which is exactly why it feels more like doing something, even when it's statistically the worst move. Second, fee structures that quietly punish small balances. Acorns, one of the most popular apps specifically marketed to beginners, charges a flat $3 a month on its mid-tier plan. On a $500 balance, that's a 7.2% annual fee, which is a worse deal than most actively managed mutual funds that get mocked for high fees. The fee isn't hidden exactly, it's just flat instead of percentage-based, so it quietly eats a much bigger share of a small starting balance than a large one. Two beginners can use the exact same app and get wildly different value, depending purely on how much they started with. Now, the two myths keeping this cycle going. Myth number one: you need a lot of money or real expertise before investing is worth doing. Reality? Fractional shares specifically killed this excuse. $1 genuinely buys you real diversified exposure now through ETFs. And consistency matters more than the size of any single deposit. $100 a month, invested for 30 years at an 8% average historical return, becomes roughly $150,000, not from picking winners, just from time and compounding. Myth number two, and this is the one actually driving the risky asset trend: slow, traditional investing is too slow to fix feeling behind, so a higher risk bet is the rational shortcut. Reality? Crypto, meme stocks, and prediction markets are legitimately more volatile, not just more exciting. Prices can swing hard enough in short windows to wipe out money you'll need soon. And experts studying this pattern are blunt that these vehicles are not reliable long-term wealth-building tools, whatever the app's interface makes them feel like. The honest version sits in between the myths. You don't need to wait, and you don't need to gamble. You need $1, consistency, and the boring asset, which is a much smaller ask than either myth makes it sound. Let's make this concrete with one real scenario, run 3 different ways. Same person, same $100 to start, same month. Path 1, it goes into a meme stock a friend mentioned. Best case, it spikes and doubles. Genuinely possible. It happens. Worst case, meme stocks are famous for round-tripping back to near zero just as fast. And historically, most of them do exactly that within a year or two. Path 2. It goes into a micro-investing app with a flat monthly fee spread across default recommended funds and then gets forgotten about. The investment itself is reasonable, but on a starting balance that small, a flat $2 to $3 monthly fee can quietly consume several percentage points of return a year, invisible unless you actually check the math. Path 3. It goes into a zero-commission fractional share account, split across 2 or 3 broad ETFs, with an automatic $100 recurring deposit set up for every future month. No fee eats the balance disproportionately, no single stock swing wipes out the whole position, and the recurring deposit means next month isn't a decision that has to be made again from scratch. None of these 3 paths requires more money or more market knowledge than the others. The difference is entirely in where the same dollar was pointed, and that's the part actually inside your control. So here's exactly how to point your first $100 correctly. Step 1, pick a zero-commission, no-minimum broker that offers fractional shares. Fidelity, Public, and Robinhood all currently qualify, and all are SIPC insured up to $500,000, meaning the platform failing doesn't erase your holdings. Don't let which app become a 2-week research project. Several of them are functionally similar enough that starting this month beats optimizing the choice for another month. Step 2, split that $100 across 2 or 3 broad, low-cost index ETFs instead of one individual stock. Something tracking the total US market and something international is a reasonable, simple starting split. This isn't about missing out on a big single winner. It's that a diversified starting position survives the volatility that sinks concentrated bets. Step 3, and this is the one that actually determines the outcome more than steps 1 and 2 combined, automate a recurring deposit, even if it's small, the same week you open the account. The $150,000 from $100 a month math only works if the deposit keeps happening without you redeciding every 30 days. Willpower is an unreliable long-term system. Automation isn't. If an all-in-one micro-investing app makes automation easier for you specifically, the small flat fee can be worth it. Just know the number, because convenient and invisible are 2 different problems, and only one of them is fine to accept. 2 honest guardrails before you start. First, if you do want some exposure to crypto or a speculative bet, and plenty of reasonable people do, cap it deliberately before you buy, not after. A common rule serious investors use is treating speculative assets as money you could fully lose without changing your life, often capped around 5 to 10% of what you're investing, never the whole $100. The problem was never that crypto exists. It's when it quietly becomes the entire portfolio instead of a small, bounded slice of it. Second, watch your own behavior around the app itself, not just the numbers in it. If checking your balance multiple times a day, chasing a loss with a bigger bet, or feeling genuine anxiety between trades sounds familiar, that's the exact gamified feedback loop researchers have flagged, and it's worth treating as seriously as any other compulsive pattern, not just an enthusiastic hobby. The goal of these first $100 was never excitement. It was starting the compounding clock as early as possible, as boringly as possible. The apps didn't fail Gen Z by making investing accessible. A dollar genuinely buys real ownership now. The failure mode is pointing that access at excitement instead of time. Same $100, same month, wildly different 20 years, depending purely on where it went. Next video, I'm going deep on Roth IRAs versus 401ks. Which one actually deserves your first real retirement dollar in your 20s? And which employer match myths are quietly costing people free money? Subscribe if you want the real numbers behind the money advice you keep seeing online.